Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Rebecca again, and I'm doing my own nails here, so I thought I would video it and show you the coloured acrylic design with spider gel and plasticine gel that I have planned. So I always sculpt my nails. I just absolutely love sculpting my nails. I can get the perfect shape, I can change the shape each set that I do, all with the same sculpting form. It doesn't matter what length or what I want to do with them, the same sculpting forms work every single time. So these are the Mystic Nails ones. They've got 3 of those butterfly tabs underneath, so they really hold secure. You don't have to worry about them moving as you work. So I absolutely love them and I use them every single time. Just lining up those tabs here now, making sure that everything is perfectly straight. And start from the bottom and pinch your way up. I'm going to do a Russian almond style nail here, so I am pinching the form to a triangular shape, and look how straight and narrow that form is. It's the width of the nail, not the width of the finger. Very important so you don't get wide nails. So now that those are all on, I save my thumb till last just so I don't knock it, and I do the same with clients as well. This is the nail prep going on, so we're making sure that the nails are completely clean, cleansed and pH balanced, slightly dehydrated, so we've got that temporary dehydration so nothing can get in the way of the adhesion of the acrylic. Then the primer. This goes on sparingly, so make sure you don't touch the surrounding skin. Redipping after 2 nails, and I take out the excess primer from my brush on a paper towel and make sure that we're not touching the skin and nothing is running into the skin. So your brush shouldn't be too wet with the product, it should be applied sparingly. Here goes the acrylic. So I am using the Mystic Nails Camouflage Pink. It's a beautiful colour and it allows me to extend the nail bed to whatever length that I want to because it's a complete cover. Using the reverse method, nice round bead on my brush so I can pop that bead down and it already starts to form my smile line for me. First thing I always do is I blend. Blend it while it's wet. That's my motto. Use the steps of polymerization to your advantage and make sure that the product is blended wherever you want it to blend first, and then do crisp lines and edges like smile lines afterwards. So when I'm applying my acrylic, I always push out to the sides, obviously to get the width of the nail completely covered, and then you can tuck the sides in and bring it back to the middle so you've got that perfect C curve going from left to right across the nail. Doesn't matter how many beads it takes you to do an extended nail bed, just work in the size beads that are adequate to cover the nail and nothing too big that you can't control. We don't want any of this product running into skin, we don't want reactions and allergies occurring because we've been sloppy with our application and things have touched the skin. So make sure you're in control, and if it takes you 3 beads or maybe 4 to do an extended nail bed, then just go with it. See how small that bead was at the cuticle area? I have gauged the space that I've got to cover and I've picked up the appropriate size bead. Here's my coloured acrylic going down. So I've got this lovely purple, glittery, and it's got a coloured base, but it's a little bit see-through at the same time. So it's got that beautiful glitter iridescence to it. It's multi-tonal, and when you blend it out, you can see that it blends into nothing for you. So it's a really easy one to go for if you want to do some fades or some glitter ombres. And I'm going to pair it with this beautiful pink, which has the same base to it. So don't pick one solid colour that's going to blend into a clear base colour. Pick 2 clear based colours with a little bit of pigment in there to give them that purple colour and the pink colour, and then they will blend together perfectly. So I always go for the darker colour right by the smile line. It really helps that smile line to pop. You've worked hard to get it perfect and you can get it nice and crisp. So let's make the most of it by putting a darker colour next to it. So I'm just pressing out that purple up against the wall that I've created with the camouflage pink. And while the product is still in that working stage, I'm going to blend it down while it's capable of doing so. So it blends into nothing and we're really using that glitter fade to our advantage. We don't want any lines or edges. Even though this is a clear glitter, you could still get a line of purple running through the pink that goes over the top of it. So make sure you do blend it out into nothing and it fades into nothingness. Pink is going down. Blend it into the purple first, just to make sure once again you've got no edges, and then just press the bead out, going for the length that you want, and make sure the sides are just ever so slightly lower than you want them to be, because this is a sculpt, so we need to get our file in there to get that perfect line afterwards. So 0.5 millimeter lower than you want it to be on the sculpting form, and just get that shape of the side of your brush. Clear starts capping this all and getting your perfect shape. This is where you put the structure in with the apex and make sure that everything is covered. It's so much better to file a clear acrylic than it is to file a glitter acrylic. Your glittery acrylics come in the smaller pots usually. They are just that little bit more expensive and you don't need a lot of them. You don't need to create structure with them. That's what your core powders are for. That's what your structure powders are for. So filing on top of a glitter powder, if you have tried to build a structure with it, will just mean it feels a bit grainy. You'll file through your glitter. You may get some bald spots. It just doesn't work as well as filing a clear over the top, and it keeps your design intact underneath the clear. So if you have done something quite intricate, then capping it in clear, make sure that everything underneath it that you've embedded in there, whether it's acrylic or dried flowers, maybe some sort of other media or painted design, it all stays intact because you're filing the clear on top of it. So whatever you do, do it thin and cap in clear. Another advantage to capping in clear and keeping everything thin underneath it is that you can now concentrate on your structure alone without worrying about your design as you're working. So keep it simple. Make sure you're not concentrating on too many things all at once, because there's a lot going on in nails as we're applying them. And do your structure last with the clear and get that perfect finish at the end. So for some reason the ring finger didn't video. I don't know what happened there, but I did do the nail. You can see it in the full set. I just haven't got it on film. So we're moving straight on to that middle finger. Use the lines on your sculpting forms. Make sure you use the lines and gauge where you need to place your smile line compared to the first nail that you did. So whatever you do with your first nail, you carry it through the rest of the 9 nails afterwards. Don't change up what you do after that first one. You want them all to be the same. So use the lines on your sculpting form to help you, to guide you to making sure that each nail is the same as the last. Use the angle of your brush to make sure that you've got a nice thin application at zone 3. We don't want it touching the skin at all, and we don't want anything bulky there either, because remember we're still going to cap this area in clear and build our apex. So even though we're building a strong base of colour here and we're building a wall at the smile line, we still want the cuticle area to be nice and thin as well as the side walls. So bear that in mind while you're applying.
I wanna get in inside your love, inside your love. We'll move all night, no worries, no doubts. This is my time to bring it.
When you're doing any sort of acrylic design work, get to know your product really, really well. Use the stages of polymerization to your advantage. Blend it while it's wet. Give it time to settle, give it time to set up if you need to, create lines and edges like small lines, but get to know your product really, really well. Don't just drag it out. Acrylic is not there to be painted on, it's there to be pressed into place, and that's how you get the strongest structure, the best colour consistency, and the best fades and ombres as well. See how I put the bead down and it just relaxes? I just let it relax. Any bubbles will disperse while I'm doing this, and it sets it up just that little bit so that it doesn't press out flat and it doesn't go wet when I press my brush and release a little bit of extra liquid into the bead. I'm using the stages of polymerization to make sure I've got the perfect structure. I'm not just pressing it out flat or making it too wet as I work. I'm actually building a nail. I'm actually building structure meaningfully, structure that I want in the right place. When you're blending acrylic, you want to blend it both ways, especially if you're blending an acrylic bead of clear, say on top of another bead of clear. If your apex is a bit flat, for example, you're going to want to put another bead there. So make sure you blend it all ways. You can't put the bead down and then just blend it towards zone 1. You've got to blend it up towards zone 3 as well to make sure you haven't got any edges. See how I'm using my brush? I'm using the belly of my brush to get the most pressure on. My brush is flat at zone 1. I'm lifting the handle at zone 2, and then I'm lifting the handle even further up at zone 3 to make sure the tip of the brush goes right the way down and I get a nice thin zone 3. That means I've got minimal filing to do and my structure's all been put into place for me, including the apex. Look at it from the side view, make sure that you haven't got any spots that are lower than they should be. Any dips need to be filled. Any mountings you can leave because you can file them, but dips need to be filled. Mystic Nails liquid and powder has a beautiful creamy consistency, so you can do so much with it. You've got complete control at all times. It's got such a forgiving mix ratio, which means that you can put it on just ever so slightly wet if you're doing some design work, or ever so slightly dry if you want crisp lines or a really consistent deep colour, and it will still adhere and you'll still get all of those properties that you need. So while I'm doing the zone 3 area, my brush handle is going right the way up. It's going nice and high, so the tip of my brush, look, see the angle there? So the tip of my brush is going right the way down to make sure I've got a completely flush application, which means I've got to do minimal filing right around that cuticle area where a lot of damage can happen. And of course we don't want a thick zone 3 area. It's a complete giveaway when it grows out. The thicker your product is at zone 3, the more chance you've got of lifting, and you've more chance you've got of somebody picking at their nails as well and not liking the look, so coming back to you earlier and having a little moan at you saying that they can see a ridge. You want people to go away happy and come back happy. So what do you think about pricing these nails? What are you going to charge your client for them? You'll see the finished result at the end. So you've got a 2-colour glitter fade on the tip with an extended nail bed. I'm going to pop a little bit of spider gel on there, and then I'm going to pop some 3D plasticine gel flowers on there. So get in touch, leave me a comment, tell me how much you would charge for these nails. On myself, each hand took an hour and 15 minutes, so I've condensed it down for this video. But on a client, it would probably take me about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, depending on how much decoration she actually did want. So have a think about what you would cost this out at. Your time is valuable as a nail technician. You've invested a lot in your education. You've got good products like Mystic Nails under your belt, so you've got to charge accordingly and make sure that you can pay your wages, pay all your business expenses, and pay your mortgage at the end of it. So let me know in the comments if you need some help with pricing. I'm always here for you, so get in touch. So here's the filing part. I've sped this bit up, but if you need any help with filing, if you're not getting the right shape, if you're not getting the straight lines that you want, if you're struggling with any part of filing whatsoever, I have got a filing series, which is an online tuition that is coming soon. So keep an eye on Facebook, Rebecca Orme Nail Pro, and keep an eye on the website, rebeccaorme.co.uk, for that one coming live soon. So these are the new eco files from Mystic Nails. They have a metal core and self-adhesive file papers that you just press onto the metal core and start filing. So you can have 100 grit on one side, you can have 150 grit on another side. They come in a 180 grit as well. So really useful for you because this gets the most pressure on. That's why I've picked it up now, because I've done all of my other filing except for that very free edge. I want crisp lines, and see how crisp that line was at the side. So I want sidewalls to die for. I want nice straight sidewalls. I don't want anything jelly bean like, anything rounded at the sides. I want it all nice and dead straight and crisp. So I'm going to do that sort of filing with the metal core file to make sure it's perfect. Spider gel. We love spider gel. I love spider gel. Spider gel goes on most of my designs nowadays, I have to admit. It is so easy to use, it's really effective. Anybody that you show it to and do a nail demonstration on, they absolutely love it. It's so effective but really quick and easy to use. So what you want to do is avoid the skin, so make sure you are covering the skin if you need to, if you're doing something more on the nail bed part of the nail. But I just tend to stick to the free edge mostly. That's only one area. It's a great area to be able to do something with spider gel on it. So here I'm just crisscrossing at a diagonal across that zone 1 area, just to give a little bit more dimension, just to give a little bit something extra. Spider gel comes in neon colours as well now, so do make sure you check them out on my website, rebeccaorme.co.uk. They are bright and vibrant and gorgeous, the same consistency as the black and white, and they are just so versatile. Cure that spider gel into place, all 5 fingers into the lamp together, and now we're going to go ahead with our plasticine gel for some 3D design work. So you'll need one of the plasticine gel colours. We've got 17 to choose from in the Mystic Nails range. You'll need some gel cleanser, and you'll need a size 4 design brush, maybe a size 2 design brush, depending on how much detail you want to get in. Use what's in your kit. And I'm going to use the design brush first, and then I'm actually using a silicone colour shaper after this. The reason I'm using the brush first is because I can get a wide area nice and flat and get the overall shape of a petal. So this is going to be a rose. I'm going to do a couple of roses in fact, but I want to get the flattened overall shape. And you can see, look, now I'm starting to work on the edges. Now I've got the shape that I want, starting to work on the edges a little bit, and I'm using the edge of my brush. You've got a flat of the brush and you've got an edge of the brush. Use the edge of the brush to get a little bit more pressure on and flatten down in certain areas, so you get a bit more depth and the petal starts to look a bit more realistic. Then you take your colour shaper, dip it into the gel cleanser so the product doesn't stick to it as you work, and I'm taking that round pointed colour shaper so that I can get some real veins working through that petal from the centre point towards the outside of the petal. Push the sides in so you get some real movement towards the petals. So you get some real movement of the petals so they look as realistic and organic as possible. So I'm taking the product out of the pot with a spatula, placing it down next to the last petal and using the brush. Look, the belly of the brush again. And then I'm using the edge of the brush where I need to, just to get a little bit more pressure on in the right place. So all I'm doing with this brush really is I'm spreading the product as wide and as flat as I need it, and then for the detail part I'm going in with the colour shaper. This is where you can get the real pressure on. If the product starts sticking to your tool or your brush, dip it in some gel cleanser again, but wipe the excess out. You don't want to drown this in gel cleanser. You just need to wet your brush with it so it doesn't stick to the product, that's all. So I'm flexing the tip of the colour shaper here so the product goes down right in the centre point of the petal where all the petals meet in the centre, and I'm getting a thicker edge up towards the outside of the petal. So now we've got to grips with how we're going to use the products and the tools. I've sped this bit up for you once again so you can see the design developing. Now I am picking up one of the pigments from the Be Creative range, and I'm just going to tuck it in there with the liner brush, and that we've got one of the new liner brushes online, and I'm just tucking that product in and I'm creating a centre point. So I'm creating a shadow or darkness in the centre whilst adding colour at the same time, so the rose comes to life because of all of that. So the tiniest bit is needed with a little bit of monomer, so wet your brush in monomer, drain out the excess, and then take the tiniest grain of pigment out of your pot. You can even take a little bit of this pigment with some monomer on your brush and create a wash over a mixing tile so you don't take too much to the nail first off. So whichever one you want to do is perfectly fine. if you do get too much pigment there, then wipe your brush out so there's no pigment left on it, and take a little tiny bit of the monomer on your brush and then wash the product out with a tiny little bit of monomer, and it will thin out the colour for you.
This town's so lame, I'm feeling so wired. It's 4 a.m., I'm not even tired. We're in your car, we can drive away. Oh yeah, we're almost there. I'm loving this feeling of something new. Just right what I needed. Take me there, we can drive away. Oh yeah.
To seal that pigment in, because obviously with washing your hands it may well wash away over time. It's pretty good at sticking to the acrylic, but over time you may lose some of that vibrancy. So I'm overlaying it with Matte and Go because I don't want these petals to be shiny. I want a nice satin finish to the roses. Roses aren't a shiny flower, they're not glossy, so Matte and Go does the job perfectly. This is Crystal Fairy. It's from Preciosa. It's one of the Preciosa branded range, and they are gorgeous. Multifaceted, tiny little crystals and stones. And I'm using Flexi Builder Base, which is a brush-on builder in a bottle. And with the rhinestone picker upper, I'm just picking up a few of these tiny little crystal fairies just to accent the nail. So I'm finishing it off basically. I'm finishing and completing the nail, bringing everything together, just placing a few where I want them, just around the sides and the edge of that design, just to make sure it's completely finished and everything looks like it's a complete nail. It's not just flowers stuck in the middle of the nail. This is going to finish it off.
Listen to the midnight radio. Listen to the midnight.
I'm just adding a little bit more of the Flexi Builder Base with the liner brush where I want it, just to add the Crystal Fairy in. I always use Flexi Builder Base in the clear version, obviously because it's not going to upset anything else because it is clear. But you can press anything into Flexi Builder Base, even the biggest crystals that you've got, size 30s, pointy back crystals as well, because it's that thick viscosity builder gel. Your crystals are going to go in there, and anything flat backed or pointy backed, it's going to sort of surround that crystal from the back and make sure that it stays on. So before I cure this nail and cure those Crystal Fairy into place, this is Joker Shine. It's the No Cleanse Gel Top Coat from Mystic Nails, and I'm just going around the edges and buttoning it up to those Crystal Fairies, buttoning it up to the Plasticine gel, not going over the top of the flowers. Remember, I wanted them to have that satin matte finish, but everything else now is going to be sealed in with the Joker Shine. And just to make sure I've got all of the Joker Shine around the areas that I need to, and everything is sealed nicely and completely glossy, just take the Joker Shine on your liner brush and make sure that you've got it everywhere you need it.
I got something else in mind.
Seal the other nails with your Joker Shine straight over the top of the spider gel and cure into place. It's a no cleanse top coat, so after this stage you are good to go.
What Catch me under the light, so keep me in your sight.
I hope you enjoyed watching me create this design. If you recreate it yourself, remember to tag me in on Facebook or Instagram. I love to see the designs that you create. Do remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video.